I'm going to be Gladys for Halloween this year. I love weapons. Let's talk about it. Hi, welcome to the Bubonic Morgue. My name is Miggy, and I watched Weapons this past Sunday. I finally got around to it. I am late to a party. I completely understand, but bear with me. And these are my thoughts on the movie. This isn't a extensive breakdown. If I go all over the place, I'm terribly sorry, but I just want to get my thoughts on this. And then before I watch Alien Earth tonight, because I'm recording this on a Tuesday, and then uploading that to TikTok. But anyways, let's get to it. And I have to say it, spoiler warning, I will be spoiling some parts of the movie in this video. It's not gonna be extensive. It's just gonna be me talking about certain parts that I like. I'm gonna talk about certain scenes from the movie that give away the plot or that give away, who's behind it. So the movie starts off with the kid narrating about the disappearance of 17 children at 2:17 a.m. They all just got up and they went outside, and from the ring cameras, when cameras outside, the people's homes, you're seeing them doing the Naruto run. When the kids go back to school, there's only one left. There's only one kid in the entire third grade classroom. All the other 17 children have left, and the teacher walks in, who's Justine, walks into just one kid. So from there, everything gets the ball rolling. They have a press conference or like a meeting. The teacher is trying to say, I am just as devastated as you are. One parent stands up, it's Archer, and it says, no, we know you have something to do with this. Where are our kids? And, basically they're trying to pull information out of her, but the principal, Marcus, who is another main character, basically escorts her out to her car and says, go home. Now, about this movie's played in chapters from Justine, Archer, Paul, James, Marcus, Alex. So from watching this movie, like from the chapter of Justine and Archer, it's basically it's tense from there on out, because the whole time you're just wondering what happened to these kids. You're trying to look at all the background of this movie, and you're like, oh, okay, because from watching horror movies or watching any thriller or drama, for a fact the background is basically there's gonna have clues, and one big clue is parasites. So apparently, parasites, grief, alcoholism, and loss is a big theme in this movie. But the parasite one comes later down the road. But the parasite is very important here. So during the Justine and Archer, there is one scene I really like. Is when Justine is basically outside of Alex's home and kind of stalking it, because she's like, okay, but leading to that, I'm sorry, again, I'm ranting, I'm all over the place. But before that, she goes to Alex's home and, walks up to it and sees it kind of not boarded up, but there's a newspaper on the window, all over the windows, basically blocking, the view from the outside. So she goes in the backyard, sees a crack in the newspaper, looks in, and just sees two adults, which we assume is the parents of Alex, sitting alone in the dark and just sitting there. So if you were to see someone peek through your window, you'd get up right away. You're like, what the hell are you doing here? That doesn't happen. They just continue to sit there. But then again, we go back to when she's staking outside the home of Alex, and it goes from daylight, she's drinking, to nighttime, she's asleep. Then the camera pans to Alex's home. Door opens. What you can only assume it's Alex's mom coming out, but she's walking all weird. It's not a normal human walk, like kind of like a toddler, like not stumbling, but just walking awkward. She has scissors, and the movie theater, when we were watching this, went silent, because obviously the music died down. It's just footsteps. Alex's parents is looking at Justine. Well, you can't really see the face because it's just all dark. But Justine's in her car, and Alex's mom has scissors. From the viewpoint, from the passenger side, looking towards the driver, you can see Alex's mom standing there. Alex's mom disappears off camera, and all you hear is the car door open and shut. Our movie theater, they all gasped. Even I was like, oh my god. Because it's just like, can you imagine, like, you're just, you fall asleep, and I guess someone just walks in or gets in your car, and you don't even notice. But the scene continues, and Alex's mom cuts a piece of her hair. Once I saw the haircut, I already knew this has to be some witchcraft has to be involved in this movie. An element of, like, spells and stuff. And I was right. Archer's chapter begins with him sleeping in his kid's bed, and he's very sad. You can tell like his wife is like, "Hey, I'm going." You can kind of see there's tension there, or like a disconnect between Archer and his wife. And then we come to find out later, Archer is the parent who is accusing Justine of saying, "Hey, we know you're in on this." So again, each chapter is going to connect it to some degree. Like, I mean, not at some degree, all of it. It's gonna just pair. So here's a piece of the puzzle. Here's a piece of the puzzle. Like halfway through the movie, you already know who is it. You already know who's causing it. Now you're just trying to see how they stop it. And so Archer is more like he kind of figures it out. He kind of like not figures it out, but he knows like the kids are going in a direction because he's in construction. So his construction subconscious is like, from what I got from the movie, is like you're so prone to used to doing things. Your subconscious kind of already says just does it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, how to explain it? His subconscious is saying there is a pattern here. You have to measure it. So he just does. He just grabs, a blueprint from, the blocks of the house, and he just starts, aligning it up. He goes to not each, but he goes to a few of the parents, homes where their child is missing. He's like, "Hey, can I look at the Ring camera?" He does. He's successful. I think he gets like 2 or 3 of them, and he kind of lines it up, and they all kind of. He doesn't know what he's looking for. He doesn't know what he's looking, but he knows they're walking and running in one direction or towards a direction. That plays the important part later. So, and then there is a scene with Archer where he falls asleep, and then he's kind of seeing his kid walk out, and he's chasing the kid. He comes back, he goes back to sleep, and then the jump scare of Gladys with the Joker face. That's the best thing I can describe it as. Joker, white face, red lipstick. I don't know how I'm gonna pull that off for Halloween, but I'll do it. Probably a lot of powder, white powder, but we'll figure it out. So he just like, again, you're piecing it together. So you know that Justine doesn't have anything to do with it because you see how creepy the parents are acting. Archer, obviously, very pissed off parent, has nothing to do with it. He just wants his kids back. So then it goes to the other 2 characters. We have Paul and James. Paul the cop, James the crack addict. Just call it like I see it. Paul takes a phone call from his wife, and the wife is basically saying, "Did you go to a meeting? Did you relapse?" I guess when I got alcoholism, I guess. But alcoholism, again, plays a huge part in this movie. Earlier in the movie, Justine and Paul meet at a bar, and they're just at the bar. Later on in Paul's chapter, they're in the bed. Ace Ventura. That's Ace Ventura. Anyways, but Paul and James interact more in this scene because Paul sees a person trying to break in or trying to get into a building, and the kid takes off, but that kid is James. Paul chases him down. Paul catches up with him, stops him, says, "Hey, is there anything?" He searches him for any weapons. "Hey, is there anything to poke me?" No. Reaches in, gets poked. And if you get poked with a dirty needle, your mind is going to one thing: HI, obviously. But I don't know if I can say it on YouTube. My second video. Not trying to get flagged on my second one, but let's go. In the fit of rage, Paul knocks him out and says, knocks him out, gets him up, get out of here. Oh, well, he knocks him out, and that's the end of the chapter. Sorry. James's chapter, to me, is kind of the most important and the most revealing. Even though he's not tight, he doesn't have a kid, he's not a functioning member of society like the teacher, like, the construction worker, the policeman, but he stumbles on, the reveal. And how it happens is he's basically stealing from homes, he's stealing from people, and he's just trying to go to a pawn shop to get money. He, I guess, steals like an off-brand iPad from what I can see, or from what it's a kid's toy. When James breaks into the home, he comes down and he thinks no one's there. He's scoping it out. He's looking at the place. He then again looks. When he looks in a certain direction, he sees 2 people. And I think that's when he falls into the basement, or he trips. Somehow he falls into the basement. And lo and behold, when he falls into the basement, what does he see? He sees kids standing in the middle of the basement. From what I saw, it was the kids. I'm like, oh shit, this is the kids. but the kids are looking up. I don't know. They were looking up at something, and from I thought it was an effigy, but I guess it was just a totem pole. But I guess it was just one of the beams from the house. So he doesn't know what's happening. He doesn't know what that is. He just sees kids like, oh shit. Gets up, walks back out, and he's like, no one's. He kind of sees like they're all kind of drugged out, or they're just not there. So he's doing, hey, nothing, no response. So he starts stealing, starts grabbing stuff, and he gets out of there. So when he gets out of there, I guess the next day he goes to the pawn shop, and as he's pawning the silverware, because he took silverware like silver, and he's looking at there's there's a reward sign with 17 children, and I think he recognizes one of them. So he calls the police, and obviously a crack addict, he doesn't want to go to the police station because they're gonna know right away, hey, we know you're on drugs, but we gotta take you in. So he doesn't want to do that. So he kind of wants to meet on an off location. And again, when Paul was chasing down James, Paul told him, since I got stuck with the needle, I'm gonna do you a solid. I don't want to see you here. Get out. If I see you here again, there's gonna be some issue. So when James is walking towards the police station to try to talk to somebody about the reward, because he's called the police and said, "Hey, I know where the kids are." What does he run into? He runs into Paul. So Paul is just mad because obviously in the earlier scene, Paul got caught. Well, Pete didn't get caught, but his wife came home from a trip, asked him, "Where you been?" And that look on your face, like, yeah, I was doing shit I wasn't supposed to, was on his face, and she immediately knew what happened. So in a fit of rage, because Paul's fiance's father works for the police station he's at, and in a brief scene, he walks out, and his father-in-law looks pissed at him as he's walking, and he already knows he messed up. In a fit of rage, Paul gets in his car and starts chasing James down again. And so this time, James is running. He's running back to his tent, and this tent is in I guess like the forest area of the town. But when when James runs into the forest, he sees an old lady. He sees Gladys, the same lady. Well, at the time, you don't know who she is, but he sees this lady sitting in the middle of the forest. From me, the sunlight is shining down on her, just kind of like, hey, come over here. If you were to see that, you're gonna get freaked out. If I saw that, I'm getting the fuck out of here. So he books it to his tent. He gets inside his tent, he zips it up, and he's just like, am I safe here? Am I good? And then on the outside, someone is trying to open his tent. So he grabs some needles, and then as the zipper comes up, or I'm assuming up or down, but as the zipper is coming up, he stabs Paul in the face again. And this time, if you're Paul, I'd be pissed. James is saying, I know where the kids are. I know where the kids are. If you take me to them, I'm not messing around. Again, would a cop believe a crack addict? Would you believe a crack addict? Naturally, no. But that's just, this is the movie. And so Paul's like, you better not be lying. Cuffs him, puts him in the back of the car, and they go to the house. And as Paul goes in, it is daylight, and then the movie cuts to nighttime, and we're like, what happened? Like, it's been so long. And then when I saw that, I'm like, how are people losing their will in this house? What's happening in that house? What's in there? Gladys isn't tied in yet. And so you just kind of have to wonder what's going on. And at a certain point, Paul comes out. He drags James inside the home, and that's the end of the chapter for James. So then the next two chapters are Marcus and Alex. Marcus is the principal. Alex is the kid that technically survived, or we're gonna say survived here. Marcus's chapter is not long, but it's like, oh, okay, this is what's happening. So in Marcus's chapter, him and his partner are, they're getting ready to eat. I don't know if it's a Saturday or Sunday. I'm assuming it's the weekend because they're not at school and the sun's out. But anyways, they're chilling, they're relaxing. They get a knock at the door, and lo and behold, it's the lady. It's the lady sitting in the middle of the forest. It was the lady that was in Archer's dream, and you're like, okay. So then now you're like, what is this? Who is this? how do you tie into the story? And this is how she ties into the story. In the beginning of the video, when the narration is talking about the 17 children, she is present. She is present in the interrogation scenes with Alex, and you don't know who they are on the side. We were just assuming that was the parents, but no. Gladys shows up on Marcus's door, saying, "Oh, I need to talk to you," and she kind of comes off as, "Oh, I need water." It reminded me of Snow White, like, "Oh, I need water, let me in." And while she was in, hers like she was more preppy. But anyways, she's inside Marcus's home, and it was witchcraft, and I knew it. I saw it. I was like, I'm spot on this, because while in the house, she asked for a bowl of water, not a glass of water, and Marcus's partner is like more, like he's more of a host, like, okay, let me cater to you. Marcus is like, no, I'm gonna call the police. What's going on? Blah blah blah. At that point, Gladys grabs cuts his hair, and so, because she reveals, or in the movie shows that she has a twig. I don't know if it's Hollywood or it's the other one. I've seen it in a lot of videos. I'm just drawing a blank right now, but it's basically a magic. It's a magic wand in a sense, but it's a spell. So he has hair from his partner, but he also has a personal item from Marcus's office. And if you know witchcraft, I guess that's how it works in movies. And so she intertwines it in the twig, snaps it. When she snaps it, Marcus loses his shit, basically becomes possessed, and starts to attack his partner, eventually killing him, also throwing up black goo on him. And in that same scene where they're in the kitchen, she grabs Justine's hair. Does the same thing with the twig, snaps it, and he becomes like this machine or this monster and starts booking it out. Because at the end of Justine's chapter, or at the end of Archer's chapter, they see the principal doing the Naruto run towards Justine and attacking her in that scene. So I forgot to mention that in the previous chapter, but I didn't want to. Sorry. So that's Marcus's chapter quickly. When it got to Alex's chapter, I was like, okay, so now we know for a fact it's Gladys behind this. But how was Alex's involvement in this? And once I saw the personal property being taken for witchcraft, I knew for a fact that before he even got to Alex's scene, that he basically got all of the kid's essence, all of the kid's property, and just gave it to her. But how did he do it? Gladys inserts herself in the home because the parents are saying, "Oh, your Aunt Gladys is coming over. She's gonna live with us." And the parents are talking about themselves, and the parents are saying like, "Okay, she should be in hospice care, not here." Alex walks in, and they kind of have to change the conversation. Alex on a car ride to school is basically asking his parents how long is Aunt Gladys is gonna stay there with them. She kind of creeps her out. He's like, "Oh, not long," kind of implying that she might die soon. So she probably has the disease. So the whole time, while she's there, she is being the parasite, being the leech. So when it gets to Alex's chapter, you understand what's happening. You see what is going on. To me, my favorite chapter was Alex's, and then because for a number of reasons, I'm sorry, the ending got me. So Alex's chapter begins with just him and his parents before Aunt Gladys is in the picture. Just living life. He goes to school, he comes back, he comes home, and then when he gets home from school that one day, his parents inform him, "Hey, your Aunt Gladys is coming over to live with us," and he's like, "Why?" And I guess they had to clean his room. Blah blah blah. Anyways, he also. When you see Gladys for the first time, she's frail, she's hunched over. You're like, "Oh, okay, you look like this." And there's a lot of symbolism about blooming, of like a flower, and from the time it's like reverse blooming because she's about to die, and again the theme of this parasite, and essentially because it's witchcraft, she's spoiler again, she is sucking the life out of this family. She is sucking the essence out of this family. And so essentially in this chapter, every time you see her, she goes from hunched over to looking a little better, to when meeting the principal or meeting interrogation people, she looks more alive than how she came in. And so Alex is like at one point going to school, is like, how long she'll live with us. The dad informs her not that long, because the prior conversation between him and his wife are saying she should be in hospice care, not with us. So when he gets home the next day from school, his parents are just sitting at the table, and that Gladys, and then I guess Gladys is right there saying, hey, your parents are okay. They're just relaxing, they're resting, and you can tell like there's a spell here, and for a fact who is doing all this. At a certain point, Gladys tells Alex, if you say anything what's going on here, I'm gonna make sure your parents get hurt. And you're like, how are you gonna do that? And so again, Twig snaps it, and they start stabbing themselves with forks. And obviously, naturally, Alex is like, no, stop. And then the parents stop. And so she's like, if you, again, reinforces and restates, if you say anything, your parents are going to die. So he goes to school. A couple days go by. Doesn't say anything. At a certain point in the movie, he tells her, I want you gone. I want you out of here. But she tricks him. She says, I will leave if you bring me certain items or personal items from the kids. And after that, I'll let your parents go and I'll leave. Doesn't happen, actually. And so at one point, Alex takes the name tags of all the kids from like their personal bins and brings them home. Why the kids wake up at 2:17 is shown in Alex's chapter, because at 2:15 he wakes up, goes downstairs, and he already sees Gladys there, and in the kitchen again with the sticks. I guess not the sticks. She puts a bowl, has candles around, and then lights it on fire. 2:17 rolls around. All the kids get up under a spell. Naruto run back to the house, and they're going in, and we're like, oh, so that's how they got there. So now, how did they defeat it? I don't know. I don't know if it just goes by chapters. I don't know where it goes again. I totally forgot. But it starts to unravel, because now it goes to Justine and Archer. The ending. So it goes to Justine and Archer. So how I always wondered how did she gain access, or how did she gain control of them? And so there's a point in the movie where she tells Alex, don't go over the salt, because when he goes over the salt, his parents are behind the line salt. When he goes over it, they start running at him. They're trying to attack him, trying to kill him. So I'm like, okay, so that's what's happened. Anytime someone that isn't under a spell goes into the house, crosses, the salt line, and then someone who is under spell, so obviously Alex's parents, they're going to be subdued, restrained, and then not possibly, but then again, the witch is basically going to put the spell on them. So now, when anyone else comes in, there's more people to grab them and subdue them, and then now they're under her spell. So the ending to Weapons, I loved it. It was, I don't know why people don't like the comedic aspect of it, but it was great. So the ending happens is Justine and Archer go inside the house, because they're like, we know for a fact something's going on here, because they see Paul's car left there, and Paul again is doing this whole like weird motion, come on in, but it's not human like. It's not something you would normally do, because if you know somebody, you're like, hey dude, like come over here, but this is no, it's too robotic. And so they go in, and they automatically know something's wrong. So when Justine and Archer go inside the house, they don't find anybody, right? At first it's like quiet, like what's going on here. And again, they don't know the salt. They don't know there's a line of salt. I know now, but not after. When Justine goes over the salt, Paul goes after Justine, and James is going after Archer. Archer keeps throwing him, and they're fighting for it. And then at the same time, Alex and Alex's mom. At the same time, Alex steps over that salt, and now Alex and Alex's parents are chasing Alex, trying to basically kill him. So Gladys and her minions have to make sure that Justine and Archer don't leave, and so Gladys and Alex can leave town basically. But that doesn't happen. eventually, Alex gets to a point where he realizes I gotta, like I know the source of power. Goes into Gladys's room, grabs a branch, grabs her essence, does the same thing, cuts his hand, snaps a twig. That in turn gets all the kids from the basement to awaken and chase after Gladys throughout the whole neighborhood. She runs out, and then the kids don't care. They'll break through the window, they'll break through the door, and they're all chasing her. They're just like running her down. She goes through all these houses, and eventually they catch up with her. And I was like, and then the whole theater was like, holy shit! And there was a lot of funny moments. It's quiet. She runs across, and then you see a bunch of kids chasing her. It was hilarious. The ending was hilarious, and I thought it was pretty cool. I'm like, dude, yeah, fuck yeah, revenge. And so when the kids finally catch up to her, they just rip her apart. I think eat her as well. The ending to Weapons is just the kid narration come back in saying, hey, some kids were able to talk, some kids weren't, So I guess the narration took place 2 years after, from my understanding. And then another thing I noticed about this movie is the Archer's kid is Matthew, and in the beginning of the movie, they're bullying Alex. So when he said some of the kids were able to come back, were able to get their speech back or be back to normal, I'm assuming that Alex still has power over them, because when Gladys died, the power of Archer, choking out Justine, he kind of just falls down. And he's like, "You regained his consciousness." He's like, "Oh, what's going on here?" And he's like, "What's happening to me?" But when Gladys dies, the kids still are stationary. They're not moving. So when that made me think, oh, okay, after kind of thinking about the movie, I'm like, oh, Alex's influence and power is still on these kids. So when I was rethinking about the bully in the beginning, I'm like, is he not allowing the bully to come back with his speech? But we don't know. That's just my thoughts. But that was Weapons. I loved this movie. 9 out of 10. If you have not seen Weapons, I highly recommend it. Please go and watch it. But anyways, if you enjoyed Weapons, what did you think of the movie? I can't wait to see if there is a sequel. I can't wait to see if there's a prequel. Again, I am going to be at Glass for Halloween. This is going to be a lot of fun. I really had a lot of fun with this movie. The movie theater I was in was very into it. Like, there was, for it to be a few weeks out and still the movie theater was kind of filled up, just shows how good this movie was. And everyone in that movie theater was like, when the intense parts came with the whole Alex's mom going into the car, everyone gasped. When Gladys was getting ripped apart by the kids, everyone was like, holy shit. When when Marcus killed his lover, and when Marcus was chasing Justine down with walking towards the Naruto, everyone was like, and during that part we were all like, it was very shocking, but it was very great. It was very fun. Next video, I am going to be reviewing Aliens 1 through 4, because Aliens Earth episode 4 comes out tonight, but I'll be posting my immediate reactions on TikTok at Migs Macabre. But anyways, if you have stayed this far to the video, please like and subscribe. Please comment. Let me know what you think about Weapons, and I will see you all later.